You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
The Night Circle of Sanity. Ready to show.
Just remember one thing. The truth is what it is, not what they tell you it is. So please don't be confused or abused by the people on a certain side of the aisle who'll tell you anything for you to believe whatever they want you to believe. All of you people who are so quick to say, I've done my own research what you think the truth is as they have told it to you, and find out if you're being told the truth or not, so you know the truth. Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, America and Ships at Sea, or however that went back in the 40s and the 50s. I wasn't around then, but my peoples were. I want to send a shout out to everybody listening to the show tonight. We're going to cover a lot of subjects tonight in a little short period of time. First of all, I want to thank everybody who listens to the show, who call it. Well, no one's called in yet, but who've made comments on the show, post comments, and I appreciate all of it and all of you. So I got a lot to cover tonight. I have a short period of time to do it, but I'm going to get to it. Again, my shout out to producer extraordinaire, DJ Rock Nice, Wayne Brooks, the man behind all of this magical equipment to make the show possible so that it comes to you all and you can hear it, you can watch it. We're streaming live on YouTube. We're streaming live on Facebook Live under the Nitelifer, under Yale Beverly, and on Rockbeg Nation. So, what do we want to talk about first? First off, let me just say this. I think it's not just me, but it appears to sometimes be me when apparently Mother Nature sends her birds to come get me. Cars clean, shining, waxed up, and it's like birds, especially in Baltimore. I don't know where it is, how it is where you are, but birds in Baltimore seem to pick that as a target. Like that's a challenge. That car is shiny. Let me come get it. And they attack like the Japanese Navy did at Pearl Harbor to start World War II. I've got bird mess all over my car. Like they're flying sideways. And it's so many hits in a specific area on the side of the car, coming up the back of the car. You can't tell me that it's not purposeful and that they're not out to get me. This is like a bombing run. It's crazy. My car, and it always happens after I wash the car, right? After the car's clean, everything's looking good. And all of a sudden, come out the next day and the birds have attacked my car. And now my car is not parked near any trees. So I don't get it. I don't understand what it's about, but I know it's personal and I know they're doing it on purpose. I know Rock rides a motorcycle, so he probably doesn't have the problem with birds tearing it up like they do my car. It's more than annoying, but it's the what's the line from The Godfather? This is the life we chose. Have a clean car in Baltimore City. Baltimore City birds will find it and mess it up. I take it personal, and I believe they take it personal as well.
That's not what I thought you were talking about. I swear. I thought you were talking about potholes.
Oh, you know what? Potholes are a way of life here in this city and most major cities. But Baltimore's got some streets that look like they were brought in from Beirut from 1980. I just went past a pothole today that would have swallowed my entire car. You can't even call it potholes, a sinkhole. It's ridiculous. How do you deal with potholes on the bike?
Go around them.
But what if you come up on them all of a sudden? I mean, that must send your teeth through the top of your jaw.
It's gonna. But you the way you solve that is pay attention.
Ah, okay. Well, that makes sense. That makes sense. And you probably can see them better than we can in the cars.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So it is spring in Baltimore City, which means the weather's nice, which means the dirt bikes are out in force, and they ride thick through Baltimore City and a lot of other major cities. Several years ago, I attended a city council meeting, and one of the councilmen pledged support for coming up with a solution for the dirt bikes, taking some areas in Baltimore City and creating a dirt bike park or track. And just like a lot of things that happened in this city, that evidently went nowhere because I've never seen anything to even make me believe that they actually have done something or in the process of setting something up. And no matter how long it would have taken to put it together, it could have been put together by now. So it's just something we deal with here in the city, and I guess you deal with it in other cities. So look, let me talk about something since I started off talking about the weather. The weather here in America has gone crazy. It's in Maryland last week. It was 90 degrees. Thursday, it was like 80. By Friday, it was 64. And Saturday, I had to turn the furnace back on. And then today, was it 88 today? Almost 90 today?
Yeah.
I don't know. I believe global warming is real. I don't know how global warming actually is calculated, but I find it hard to believe that this is supposed to be how weather's supposed to be in May, where it's 90 one day and 2 days later it's 64, and 3 days after that it's back up to 90. And don't tell me a cold front ran through, because after today the weather's going to drop back again into the 60s. So whatever's happening to make it happen, it's happening, people. We've been lucky here in Maryland because we don't have the major storms that hit the Midwest. The tornadoes have done devastating damage to homes and people's lives across the Midwest. I personally have said I could never live anywhere where I would have to have tidal wave, prairie fire, hurricane, tornado insurance. God bless the people who live there and can handle it. It ain't a thing for me. I'm not built that way. I'm not built for that life. I'm a Baltimore boy with Southern roots. My people come from South Carolina and North Carolina, and I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't even imagine. I mean, we get hit, right? We get hit with weather sometimes where we get feet of snow, which we haven't had since I bought the snowblower. Thank you, Maryland. You can thank me. I bought a snowblower. We haven't had more than 4 inches of snow at one time since then, a few years ago. But I don't know how I would feel if I had to make sure the root cellar was full in case a tornado came through and blew the house over. But hearts go out to those people who live in those affected areas, and I hope everyone out there is safe and doing well. So let's get it started. Let's talk about some things, man. Let me try to shine some light on some things that are in the news today. As you know, I want to try to avoid talking about former President 45 and the constant madness that surrounds this man and his administration, his former administration, the people around him, and him. I really try to avoid that. But sometimes there's certain things they're just too ridiculous or too out there to be left alone. You just got to bring it up. You got to talk about it. So I want to talk about this hush money trial. For those who are not paying attention, and I know there are some people who don't pay attention, I don't know how you avoid it, but let's break down what the trial really is. The trial is about Donald Trump having paid hush money, basically a bribe, to a porn star who he had a tryst with, a get down, a 1 day stand, of a hookup, whatever you want to call it, he had with this woman 17 years ago. He paid this money to her so she would not sell her story to the tabloids, to major news outlets, to anyone that could publish it and put Donald Trump's candidacy in jeopardy back in 2016. 2015 is 2015, actually. So he's not in trouble for having sex with this woman. So I've seen people who are proponents of his and supporters of his saying, "Oh, he was a playboy, so it's okay. Boys will be boys." That's not what he's in trouble for. That's not what he's facing the full force of the New York City attorney for. He's in trouble because he paid to have that story silenced so it would not get out during the election cycle, which would put him in jeopardy. So what normally would have happened, put him in jeopardy and affected his candidacy. He paid her on the heels of the Access Hollywood tape coming out where he was talking about how being famous and rich, he could have his way with any woman that he wanted because he was famous. So he could grab him by the I'm gonna say it. You can grab him by the pussy, get away with it. They let him do anything, get away with anything. And when that came out, it should have killed his campaign, but it didn't. But the belief was within his camp, if this story came out that he had had sex with this porn star while he was married, while his wife was home recuperating from having his last child, then the belief was that surely would have killed his candidacy. Little did we know in 2015 how stupid or brainwashed or so unaffected certain segments of America were, that they were so enamored with this man that he could come out later and say he believed he could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and get away with it. And it's proven to be true. He's done some things and said some things and gotten away with things that have former candidates for public office just scratching their heads. Gary Hart, who ran for president, had his candidacy come undone because he had a picture come out of him sitting on a dock at a pier, sitting on a dock with his assistant sitting on his lap. That was enough to destroy that man's campaign. Donald Trump raw dogged a porn star and paid for it. Not only did he pay for that opportunity, he paid to cover it up. But at the time, he paid for an opportunity to have sex with this porn star, Stormy Daniels, and if it has now come out, and he still got support from the larger segment of his political party. Now, it goes without saying, because we've said it so long now that it's almost second nature. Had that been Barack Obama, right, where that would have been the end of his campaign, and not just because he's a black man, but because he was a Democrat. Democrats fold under pressure for things that Republicans laugh at and go through, like Grant went through Richmond. But the revelation came out in the trial. This is why I want to bring the trial up, to explain that fact. He's not in trouble for having sex with the porn star while he was married. He got in trouble because he paid this woman for her silence and to cover up the fact that he had done that. That is illegal under New York law. It was blackmail anyway, but it's illegal against their laws for campaign interference. It was a bribe. It was a cover up. He paid it, and then he tried to hide that in his financial statements. I mean, we all remember the man never showed his taxes during the election cycle because he claimed they were under audit, which proved to be bullshit anyway. But that was his story for why he didn't have to show his taxes like every other major candidate has done who's run for president for the last 50 years or so. So he didn't show his taxes. He has manipulated his finances for years to undervalue his properties, his business, so he could get tax breaks, and then turn around and take that same property and overinflated its value so he could get loans from other institutions. He was playing a shell game. He has convinced a lot of people in this country that he is unnaturally wealthy. He may be wealthy. I believe he's very rich, but I don't think he's wealthy. But he's in trouble for all of that, for lying about the hush money payments, for making the hush money payments, and for keeping this lie going so he could run for president and actually be elected president in 2016. So I bring all that up to say the revelation came out. I know I heard this before, but the revelation came out yesterday because Stormy Daniels testified in his trial yesterday for the prosecution, of course. But she testified that when she went to his room for their encounter, he met her at the door wearing silk pajamas. He pulled the Rico Suave move of all Rico Suave moves. And she said she was offended by that and asked him to change, which he did. And in their banter, she noticed that there was a magazine in the hotel room. This happened in the hotel room. There was a magazine in the hotel room with his picture on the cover. And he was being cheeky, I guess you could call it. He was being flirtatious, whatever you want to call it. And she mentioned that he was being bad and she would have to spank him. Now, look, we all have our own little things that we do when the doors close and the lights go out and other people don't need to know about. But this man grabbed that magazine, rolled it up, and handed it to her so she could spank him. I'm not here to judge people on certain things, but I got to judge you on big dollar stuff. He had her spank him with a magazine with his face on it, and then proceeded to tell her that she was beautiful and sexy and reminded him of his daughter. What in the Sigmund Freud? There is levels to this shit that is just beyond anything that I can imagine. I can imagine a lot of stuff. I'm going to say that I'm a connoisseur of a different kind of movie genre. I don't know about you, Rock, but I've seen certain films and videos. I I've never heard anybody. I've never like to be attracted to a woman because she reminds you of your daughter.
Where
they do that at?
What is enticing or erotic about someone reminding you of your daughter?
I can't even I can't even fit my head around it. It's just like when the first time you see The Color Purple and Whoopi Goldberg's younger character is talking about her father raping her repeatedly and getting her pregnant, and then only to find out later in the movie that he was not really her real father. He was her stepfather who took advantage of her up until and after her mother died. But even that, as crazy as that was, as horrific as that was, your own daughter. You look at your own daughter. So let's make the reverse true. You look at your own daughter and say, she looks like this porn star. And then you look at a porn star and go, wow, she looks like my daughter. I really like to hit that. We forget my complete disgust with it. What I am struggling trying to understand is why people can support anyone who thinks that way. I can't even wrap my head around that. I can't wrap my head around the fact that people in that party were willing and demanding Bill Clinton be impeached because he had sex with a woman in the Oval Office. But at no point, even though that did happen, and I'm not forgiving it, I'm not excusing it, but at no point has anyone ever said Bill Clinton looked at Monica Lewinsky and said, "You remind me of my daughter."
She ain't look like Chelsea.
Look, she was a willing participant. It was still wrong, but Bill Clinton lost support from people in his own party behind that madness. Republicans were outraged. The moral majority was a thing. They were up in arms. They were, he's got to go. But these are the same people that are supporting Trump, a man who had sex with a porn star for money, which makes her what? What do you call someone who you have to pay for sex?
Prostitute.
Just a prostitute. And told this woman that she reminded him of his daughter.
Was he looking for a discount because she
the family discount?
Yeah.
Friends and family? But they still have not moved away from him. They will backflip, turn themselves inside and out to find a way to say that's okay. And then you have evangelicals who are calling this man holy and justifying what he did and how he did it because They want him to be president that badly that they can forgive that. You had a man who was a senator from Georgia running for re-election, and it came out that as a 30-year-old man at the time, he was trolling malls for teenage girls so he could have sex with them. That was a line too far for them. They cut that dude off, and he lost his seat in the Senate. But it's okay. I mean, I guess you can say Trump wasn't Stormy Daniels wasn't a teenager when she had sex with Trump. But it doesn't change the fact that he was married. His wife had just had a baby, was home recuperating from just having the baby. And he paid for sex with this woman and then had her spank him with a magazine with his picture on the cover. I got nothing. I got nothing, man. I can't find a way to justify that. And I don't understand how they can. And then to add to that, he's hawking Bibles. And they're buying this. The height of the hypocrisy is he's selling Bibles for $60 a Bible. And these Bibles also contain copies of the U.S. Constitution and the Bill of Rights. So to sidebar this for a second, when I grew up going to school, the story I was told, and of course it is a story, it's not the truth all the way, but the story I was told, what I was led to believe was that this country was founded on the belief of separation of church and state. And the Bible was not written in America. The Bible was not written for Americans. The Bible is not about America. So to add the U.S. Constitution and the Bill of Rights to a Bible and then sell it for $60 is the complete antithesis of separation of church and state. One, the belief that this country is a Christian nation is a falsehood. But if your dumb behind spends $60 for a Bible that has the Constitution, Bill of Rights, and Donald Trump's signature in it, autograph, you've already lost. You have literally sold your soul for a bag of beans. And to try to justify it by saying, oh, he's really a man of God, or he's flawed, but he's still spiritual. When Trump couldn't tell you the first line of the Bible, he couldn't tell you the name of any passages in the Bible. As a matter of fact, when he was running in 2016 for president, two reporters tried to pin him down on since he was the Bible, when he knew he was in trouble, what was his favorite passage from the Bible. And he couldn't give a single line, a single passage, a single quote from the Bible. I'm no Bible thumper. By far, I'm not a Bible thumper. But even I know he could have said, and Jesus wept. Like, he could have thrown anything out of there. He couldn't. He can't name two disciples. Unless he probably thinks their names are Rudy Giuliani and Michael Cohen. It's we live in strange times, man. We live in strange times, and it's I have friends that are Republican. I have friends who are Democrat. I have friends that are independent. and I got family on those sides as well. I have trouble maintaining any kind of connection with people who are MAGA or Trump supporters. I don't understand how you can justify that and claim that you love America. And that leads me to uh, a question that I have around that, and that holy Bible, that evangelical Christian process part of it. If you are a Trump supporter, if you claim to love this country and trying to save this country, and Trump is the best thing for this country, and you love the Constitution, then the exercise, the mental gymnastics you have to do to justify June 6, 2021, I'm sorry, January 6, 2021, just has got to be turning your insides inside out. If you claim to love this country and you love the Constitution, everything about January 6th is anti that. These people tried to overtake the government. They stormed the Capitol. They did this at the suggestion, so I'm doing this, the quote fingers. They did this at the behest of Donald Trump and his cronies, because they knew they had lost the election. They knew there was nothing that they could do to legally stop the certification of the election, and Donald Trump was going to leave office. The Constitution makes no allowances for disputing an election, a fair election, where one candidate got more votes than his opponent and won. They make no allowances for that to be disputed. Trump and his people, his hardcore supporters, are still standing on this edge of the spear, claiming they have legal cases out there trying to fight the election, the results of the 2020 election. And he's running again. And if you think he's not going to pull the same bullshit when he loses in 2024, you're sadly mistaken. Now, I don't want to spend the whole show talking about Trump as far as that's concerned, but I do want people to keep in mind, you're being sold a bag of beans, and if you believe it just because he said it, then you don't have the ability, or you refuse to accept that you have the ability to do your own fact checking. And that's sad, because it appears that's nearly, if not half of this country, is on that same mindset. This country, where as citizens, we were most of us were afforded a free public education and taught the same thing across the country about how our government is structured and how it's supposed to work. And if you choose to believe something that someone who you can't even get their academic records, because he wants those hidden, he's made sure those have been hidden. If you believe that person and everything he tells you, then you're not a smart individual. That's the best way I can put it. You're part of the circus. You're following the clown. You're following the clown. And, it makes me think, do you remember during the Obama administration how much stink Trump and others made about Barack Obama's birth certificate? And how he supposedly had hidden his birth certificate because he really wasn't born in America. And then when they accepted that there was a birth certificate, when it was found and made public, they said, well, he was born in Hawaii, so he's not American. The Obama administration, Barack Obama, never tried to hide his birth certificate. But Trump has gone out of his way to hide his academic records from college. Overtly and systematically gone out of his way to hide his birth certificate. I'm sorry, his college transcripts. But that's okay. That's okay because he can do no wrong, man. He can do some obscure stuff and get away with it. And it's okay. So I'm gonna come off of that deep thing for a second, and I want to, Rock, since you're over there, I want to talk about the WNBA.
Okay.
All right. The WNBA right now, the season is about to kick off, and it has never been more popular. This is the most excitement behind the WNBA and the players, and it's because of Angel Reese, Baltimore's own Angel Reese. It's because of the young lady Cordoza, last name Cordoza. I can't remember her first name. I see Shelly Fabre's on here. Shelly, please supply me with her first name when you can. Behind Caitlin Clark. Everybody wants to see these girls play, these women play basketball. You still have Brittany Griner in the WNBA. You still have a lot of real superstars out there playing basketball that will play most men and some NBA men straight up and have a good game against them. But the WNBA is kicking off right now and is more popular. And it's an opportunity that the WNBA, which is, pretty much run by the NBA, is going to miss out because they don't have national television contracts. I've seen on social media people have been upset. They've been losing their minds that the Chicago Fire, the team that Angel Reese plays on, their first preseason game was not televised. But most of the games are not televised. These women play basketball in its purest form. They are extremely athletic. They give you a good game. My fault with the NBA is that it's become basically run down court, shoot a three, or slam the ball, or slam dunk. There's very little in the way of true basketball strategy anymore in the NBA. But the women play a very exciting game. They play the game like it's supposed to be played, and they're not getting that exposure. So I'm not a big NBA fan anymore. I don't follow it anymore. Like that. The playoffs are on right now. Did you see what happened with the game? Was it Denver game the other day where the guy threw a towel at a referee from the bench and then threw a heating pad at the referee from the bench?
No.
Oh yeah, this is big. During the playoff game, they were getting blown out. The Minnesota versus Denver, because Denver won it all last year. And one of their stars was on the bench, on the end of the bench, on the back, the second tier of the bench. And during action on that side of the court, this fool stands up and throws a towel from the stands, from the bench, at a referee. It landed. The referee's back was to the stands because he's watching the play. Threw a towel. It landed at the back of his feet, and the ball boy for Denver runs out and picks the towel up and scoops it back up before the ref could turn around and see it. Then a few moments later, same guy takes a heating pad wrap and throws it at the ref, but misses the ref, and it goes out on the floor while play is going on. Lands at the feet of the guys playing. One of his teammates who's on the floor picks it up and throws it back into the stands. Nothing happened to this guy during the game. I mean, and they were getting their behinds handed to him anyway. So he, as a superstar on the team, he's still riding, like he's on the bench. They have him out of the game. But the controversy was how this man did not get suspended, or was he going to be suspended once, the film came out, the NBA office had an opportunity to see it. What would be the penalty? Because if a player throws something from the court, like a ball, a wrap, anything from the court into the stands, that's an immediate ejection, that's immediate fine, and that player is probably going to be suspended. But evidently, no one has ever on purpose thrown anything from the bench at a ref during the game, during action of the game. So he gets away with it. And then the NBA looked at it overnight and came up with, we're going to fine him $100,000. Now, bring all this up to say this man, they came out, they broke it down on SportsCenter. $100,000 roughly represents how much he makes for 1 quarter of play in a game. So he basically makes $400,000 a game. And they fined him $100,000. There aren't many, if any, women in the WNBA that are making anywhere near that kind of money. And they're not making that kind of money because they don't have the TV exposure. They don't have the opportunity to be seen across the country. The NBA and the WNBA have not gone out and solicited sponsorship and television contracts for this product, this WNBA, this women's basketball league. They're not out there bringing these people, making them superstars in our eyes like they did with the NBA. The NBA back in the 60s and early 70s was not a popular sport until some very smart people started finding a way to make superstars out of certain players and putting the games on television, making it an exciting sport to watch for people who want to watch, which made sponsors want to be a part of it and put the game on television and put their product in front of people. I just found out 2 years ago, that the Lakers used to be owned by Jack Kent Cooke. That happened in my lifetime. I didn't even realize that. Jack Kent Cooke, the same guy who used to own the Redskins until his death, at one time owned the Lakers. He owned the Lakers at the time that they drafted Magic Johnson. So that's not 100 years ago. That's not 70 years ago.
First time or the second time?
The first time, when Magic was drafted into the NBA after winning national championship with Michigan State over Larry Bird and the Indiana State college team. And that, just as I said that the name of the Indiana State mascot went out of my head. But Jack Kent Cooke was the owner of the Lakers at that time and sold the team to Dr.
Okay.
Was it Larry? What was his name? But so when that happened, the NBA had an opportunity. You had the two kids who had played in the national championship game, drafted into the NBA the same year. It created its own natural rivalry that these kids were going to teams that were regularly competing for the championship. Just so happened that the Lakers were usually losing to the Celtics, but they were always, up there. They were always a good team. That created tension. You had a black basketball player who was very good and exciting, and a white basketball player who, though he was not exciting, he was very good. The WNBA has an opportunity now. We saw it through college. We saw that Caitlin Clark got close her last 2 years in school to national championship and lost both times to players who were basically drafted the same year this year. They have an opportunity to promote that. Go out and solicit ESPN, NBC, TNT, ABC. They're same partners for the NBA, National Basketball Association, men's game. Solicit those or other forms. You've got all kinds of ways to broadcast games now, streaming services, Peacock, again, ESPN streaming, ESPN Plus. There's ways to do it to make this game more popular and get these women the money that they deserve to make. The reason Brittany Griner got locked up and imprisoned in Russia was because she went to Russia to play because she could make much more money in Europe than she could here at home as a professional basketball player with years in the WNBA.
That's why she was in Russia, but it ain't why she got locked up.
No, that's not why she got locked up. But this is why black people don't need to go to Russia. You're going to go to Russia and try to be doing some stuff that is not, it's not, you can't. And Russia is one of the countries that the government is actively anti-gay. So she was already going to be looked at. And then to be caught with a certain drug in her possession, she got in trouble. And then, of course, the political aspects of it with Putin being able to stick it to the United States, that was there. They used her as a political pawn. But it's a shame. We have people, Americans who are playing basketball, American men playing basketball abroad, not for the money per se, but because they couldn't get a break in the NBA. They're either not on that tier or they haven't broken through yet, or they're young or whatever. But the European game is paying, and there's a lot more leagues for them to play in. But it's not because they don't have options. It's not because they have options in America. It's because that's the only way they're going to get to play professionally. But women, if they want to get paid, really get paid, and they don't get the endorsement deals that they can get over here, and those endorsement deals still don't come anywhere near as close as to what the men get. People were up in arms that Caitlin Clark got a contract, an endorsement contract worth, I think it was $2 million. Can you imagine the look on, say, I don't know, LeBron James's face if someone offered him an endorsement deal for $2 million? Ain't nobody got time for that, man. That's chump change to him. Right? So
was it chump change when he first came into the league?
Oh, and when he first came into the league, $2 million. I mean, still for LeBron, I remember LeBron was considered the second coming. Nike had a whole commercial where they did a riff on the Blues Brothers, the church scene, where he was the second coming and he was going to be the king. And that was more than $2 million. That endorsement was worth more than $2 million. Now you go.
Isn't LeBron the same one that got in trouble in college for having a Hummer?
No, because LeBron never went to college. LeBron went straight from high school to the NBA.
So who was it that before they went to the NBA they had a Hummer and it was a problem with it because they was thinking it was given to him by someone?
I remember the story. I don't remember who you're talking about. I don't remember the player, but no, LeBron was a phenom. He came to the NBA right after high school. He was one of the few successful players who have done that. There have been a lot that have done it, but the successful ones you can count on one hand. LeBron is one of them. Kobe was one of them. Moses Malone back in the day was one. So I don't really remember who it was that was getting paid under the table. That now that doesn't even exist anymore. The NIL, the name, image, likeness situation where players can actually be legally paid and compensated to play for a certain school, certain areas, that's out there now. So just like we saw with Reggie Bush, former NFL player, Heisman Trophy winner from USC from several years ago, who had his Heisman Trophy taken away from him when it was discovered that USC was paying to put giving his family money so they could have a house in California while he played for USC. They rescinded their banning of him from his Heisman and gave his Heisman back to him, because now it's a different landscape, man. You got the money, you want a kid to come play for your school. You have to offer them something. Some of these kids make $1 million a year to play football for certain schools, and more than that if they're really good. They might get $1 million from this company, $1 million from this booster. The money's out there, and I don't really have a problem with it, because coaches in college make millions of dollars. The schools make millions of dollars. And before this last 4 or 5 years, kids were getting nothing. They say, oh, it's education. You can't put a price on education. Yeah, you can. But that still doesn't compensate, doesn't even come up to the same level when you've got coaches making $12 million a year, and these players can't even afford to eat off campus unless they're on a meal plan. Yeah, so I think they deserve the money, but truth of the matter is, people like Caitlin Clark were making more money in college than her NBA contract will ever be, WNBA contract will ever be, until changes happen. And again, this is the perfect opportunity. This is the chance. This is the time. Now we'll switch sports, because I know a sport, because of you. Last Saturday, I watched the boxing match. You see the match last Saturday?
No, some of us have affairs, and I was working. All of us don't have the luxury to grab a remote, put our feet up, and channel surf.
I wasn't channel surfing. I was watching the pay-per-view fight because I knew I'd be coming on here, and you're a big fight fan. I knew we'd be talking.
But I didn't see it. I was actually in Philly Saturday. Who won, man?
Oh, let me tell you something. Canelo put a clinic on this boy. He beat this man every which way but loose. And so boxing was a sport I used to follow back in the day. My old man would take us to the Civic Center for the closed circuit, and we'd watch the big fights. And then when pay-per-view became a thing, we would occasionally get big fights. The Tyson fights, we would watch Tyson, watch Sugar Ray Leonard, watch Marvin Hagler, the Hagler-Hearns fight. These were big fights. We watched these fights. But I got away from it maybe 10 years ago or so, because boxing, the quality of boxers had gone downhill. And then MMA came in and took over, and you know, that became more of a thing than boxing. And I really can't get into MMA like I used to get into boxing. But because you're such a big boxing fan, and I've been on certain shows that you produce, and people talk about boxing, and you got family boxing, I'm like, let me get back into boxing. And I've watched Canelo fight before, and let me tell you something, man. This Mexican, this red-haired, freckled Mexican can box. He can fight, and he beat this boy. He handed out a 12-round lesson.
Did he?
Oh, there were times you could see him flinching, like he was going to throw a punch, and then like he let the kid off the hook, because he knocked him down in the fourth round. He could have been finished. He knocked him down like a minute and 42 seconds to go in the fourth round. And when he got up, the guy was on Prayer Street, and Canelo just played with him. You know, it was just clear. He completely outclassed him for the rest of the fight. But it was a hell of a fight. And your boy Tank, I think he was in the audience. I think they interviewed him. By the time I got to the remote and found the pay-per-view channel and started watching, I thought they were finishing an interview with Tank. He was there.
Yeah, that's going to be a big deal next month, man. I'm going to say this, and I always seem to get nervous like right before the fight, but everybody else have confidence, and they be like what it is. I really see Tank beating the brakes off this boy, but I just don't like the whole trash talking, man. You know, look at what happened with Haney. I don't know how into boxing you are.
Yeah.
Haney's dad talked him into an ass whooping.
Yeah.
He couldn't back up. And I feel confident about Tank. I really think that he can take this guy. What I don't want is you giving this guy motivation.
So, you know, again, old school, go back to the day, you know, that was all part of the build up for the fight. People talked a little trash, but you knew that it was kind of gamesmanship. Like it was part of the thing to talk the fight up, right? But the boxer was doing the talking. When you got your corner people and your family talking, you better be sure that you can back it up or tell them to shut the hell up.
Shelly said, can you see her comments?
I do see a comment, Shelly. I do see the better players that went to the NBA right out of college. Right out of high school. Kobe, LeBron, Moses Malone, Dwight Howard. I forgot Dwight Howard had come straight out of high school. Amari Stoudemire, Kevin Garnett. I knew Kevin Garnett. Tracy McGrady, Jermaine O'Neal. Shelly, since you looked it up, what was the kid's name? Kwame Brown. Like Kwame Brown did it too. Kwame Brown came right out of high school, and when Michael Jordan had taken over being the general manager of the Wizards, he drafted Kwame Brown, and Kwame Brown just never lived up to the hype and never lived up to the expectations, and he wasn't on the level of these guys that Shelly put up there. So it's some that have done it to levels of success and some that haven't even come close. Kevin Garnett had a stellar career, right? Yeah, he was more than a bust, but I think he was traded to LA. I think the Lakers. He became a decent player. He was never. He was a better player there than he was here. Stoudemire and McGrady, good players, very, very good players. I can't say that I would say Jermaine O'Neal came up to the level of even Stoudemire or Garnett and McGrady. Dwight Howard, there's so much to be said about Dwight Howard. I don't want to unpack that. Yeah, we should talk about Dwight Howard and some of these people on Shelly's show. Shelly has a show on Mondays. She and her friends do Audible Aunties, and some very knowledgeable women about things in sports.
They all right.
You think they're all right?
They all right.
I mean, they know some stuff, but they don't really talk about boxing much.
Yeah, they do. Listen.
Really?
Yes. Listen, I was afraid that I was gonna try to get my cousin in the building, man, but them cougars might attack him. You know what I mean? I think his interviews are just safe on the phone.
I don't know what you're trying to say, Rock. I feel like maybe Shelly should have something to say about that, because I feel like you're trying to say that she and her crew would be on the young man.
What I'm saying is, he was doing a phone interview, and all of them instantly went to his Instagram.
Wow.
Nah, they're some good ladies, man. They are very knowledgeable. I'm impressed, man.
Scooter has a 10-pack. Shelly says he has a 10-pack.
See? That's the reason why we're going to have him do his interviews via telephone. I do, man. But it's two things I really don't like. Is watching sports, especially big games, regardless of what sport it is, at a sports bar.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I'm going to get cracked across my head for saying this, but I have to say it so people can understand the magnitude of my statement when I finish.
Okay.
I don't like watching sports with women. I don't.
The views of Rock Nice do not necessarily reflect the views of the broadcast of the Nightlife or Circle of Sanity.
Right, but here's the statement that I need to make. The aunties have changed my perspective on it.
Okay.
They have changed my perspective on it because they just as much into the game as I would be. You know what I mean? So it's not a thing where we're being disturbed or they're rooting for a field goal when the team was really down by 7. They like, kick the field goal. For what? He's still going to be down by 4. The aunties bring, and that's why I always label this show as sports from a woman's perspective. They've increased the women's stock. I know at least 30, 40 notches, man. So my hats off to these ladies. I try to keep my mouth closed because I don't want it to be a thing where they feel like a man is influencing this show, because that's all them. That's all them, man. And my hats off to them, man. They're doing a really, really great job.
Now, are you going to sit here and tell me that part of why you said that isn't because you'd be locked in this studio with them and you can't take on all of them?
I can fight. I'm
the
gonna be at least one of them.
The question was, are you saying this because you know eventually they could get you in here and wear you out?
Again, I love the ladies. I love the ladies. Hats off to the ladies, man. Great job that y'all doing. And I look forward to a long-lasting relationship between WNBA and the Audible Aunties.
Well, Shelly said that some men don't know sports, and I have to say, Shelly, she's more than right. She's more than there are way more men who know less about sports than they want to admit. I went to a Ravens game when Lamar was in his first year starting, his sophomore year, his second year in the league. And there were some guys sitting behind me, and they were drunk, but they claimed to know football. I couldn't, in between plays before the game started, you start, talking to people, and it was clear these people didn't know what they were talking about. But, that first year that Lamar started, the big thing with the Ravens was that diversified running attack where you didn't know if he was going to hold on to the ball or throw the ball or hand it off to the running back or whatever. And that kept defenses, from focusing on what they wanted to do. And the Ravens were very successful. And these guys at one point were screaming, hey, we're not going to do anything until Lamar does his magic. We got to stop this straight. We got to go do this. And I said, dude, he just did a play action pass. do you know what a play action pass is? And the guy looked at me like I was speaking Greek. I said, he's it was the run option. It was the run pass option. That in by definition is a play action pass. It looks like he's getting ready to run the ball and he pulls the ball back and throws a pass. So for these clowns to be out there talking loud and drinking proud and thinking they know what they're talking about, it's exactly what Shelley was trying to say and was saying. There's a lot of guys out there that just think they know everything because they can sit with their buddies and talk about sports and have no clue whatsoever what they're talking about. But I haven't really been paying attention. I think I missed the show when they had a boxer in here in the studio. I probably had something else to do and missed the show, so I didn't get to see them rub their fingers on his belly to count his 10-pack. Who was that? Who was that? That was it. Was that Scooter?
He wasn't here in person. He was on the phone.
Okay.
He's actually called twice.
Okay. Is he afraid to come in because the audible?
No, he's 21. He loved that attention.
Yeah, but sometimes the audible cougars, audible aunties, can be intimidating to a young man.
Nah, he loves the love he gets from them.
Okay. Let me get back on track a little bit here. I'm going to talk about the election. Election is coming up, people. We will be voting for president in November. This is May. May is like this year is flying, right? Yeah. Is this year going fast or is it me?
No, it's not you.
So this is May. We are 6 months away from the election for president of the United States. We have two major party candidates, Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Donald Trump is 77 years old. Joe Biden is 81 years old. And then we have an independent candidate that I have to bring up, Robert Kennedy Jr. Now, I'm old enough to remember when Robert Kennedy Sr., his father, was running for president and was assassinated. In 1968, I was 6 years old when the train carrying Bobby Kennedy's body passed through Baltimore. I was one of the people, my aunt Renee and other people in the neighborhood, we went down to the train tracks to watch the train go by and wave at his casket. And now his son is running for president as an independent, and he's 70 years old. So that makes me feel really old because I'm not that far from 70. But you would think a Kennedy running for president would be the darling of the Democratic Party. But Robert Kennedy Jr. is a little on the woo-woo side, a little not right. And it came out.
What would possess him to run for presidency? Every Kennedy that made presidency was killed.
Or the ones that didn't get, everyone that was running for presidency got bumped off except Teddy.
Teddy, he ain't president. He was a senator.
Yeah, well, Bobby didn't make president either. He was killed on the campaign trail. He didn't even get the nomination, even though he was on his way to winning the nomination. He never made the nomination for president. But the Kennedys are a star-struck family, man. They've got money, and they're staunch Democrats. And Shelley's right. RFK Sr. would have made a great president. He would have been better as a president than JFK ended up being, even though because he was assassinated young, there's a lot of more belief in his promise than his actual delivery. And he was really the brains behind that presidency anyway. But anyway, Robert Kennedy there was a deposition that was taken in 2012 that has just surfaced. That is probably going to kill his candidacy even as an independent, which again is just like Teflon Don Trump. Nothing sticks to him. This is going to stick to Robert Kennedy Jr. He claims that there's a dead worm in his brain that entered his brain, ate a portion of his brain, and then died, and it's still inside his brain. This man does not believe in vaccinations. He's a little bit woo-woo, as I said, and there are a lot of people who don't believe in the vaccinations. I got my vaccination. I got my booster. I got my second booster. That's all I got. Shelly, if you're going to be saying stuff that's funny, you need to call in. Don't just post crazy funny stuff. Call in and say what you have to say. Give it a number, Rock. 443.
So hold on.
Rock said, hold on, Shelly. We're going to try to get you online, I think.
Yes.
Shelly.
Hold on. Now she there. There you go, Yale.
Is
Yes.
Shelly of the
She got to turn off phone down the background.
turn your phone down,
I'm turning
Shelly.
it down.
Yeah.
Shelly of the Audible Cougars. Aunties.
Shelly, y'all said that, not me. I ain't say nothing about y'all being cougars.
You intimated.
Yes, you did. I heard everything you said.
Shelly, that's not what I said.
You did. You did. You called us cougars, but that's okay. I'm gonna make sure my girls understand where you're coming from,
Yes.
and you know they're gonna come for you. That's all I have to say.
Y'all all cute. Do that matter?
Say, no.
See how he's trying to clean it up now?
Right. That's okay. But that's okay. But can we talk about RFK Jr. and the damn worm?
Please. My Aunt Zelda is listening,
No.
and Zelda said he stated, and this is true, he stated that he got the worm on a trip to Asia.
Asia. Well, I will say this. I do know that is something that can occur.
Uh-huh.
It can actually happen.
Mm-hmm.
However, with someone in his standing and and the wealth that they have, I think it's something they could probably do about it.
So do you believe the dead worm is still in his brain?
And usually that happens to people who travel to, especially Asia. People want to down going to African countries, talking about the diseases you can, but it is nothing compared to Asian countries. Africans overall, and I don't want to lump Africans like people usually do, because Africa is not a country, it is a continent.
I understand.
Overall, those of the African continent are much cleaner, healthier people than those in Asia.
Last I checked.
Think about Asia. You gotta think about what countries we're talking about. We're talking India,
China, Vietnam, Korea.
Yes, Vietnam, Korea, Cambodia.
Man,
the list goes on.
Indonesia.
Yes.
Well, actually, French Indonesia is what.
And for some reason, people feel more comfortable going to the Asian countries than the African countries.
And I'm not trying to throw shade at Asians per se, because but COVID didn't come from Africa, right? COVID didn't come from Africa. And last time I checked, Ebola, which was a much more deadly disease that came from Africa, did not have the widespread effect over here that COVID did. Now, you could say the Obama administration was on it, but Ebola was a bloodborne disease, fluid-borne disease, and nowhere near as bad as COVID as far as it spread.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Because we know COVID is still an issue,
Yeah, it is.
and it's still widespread. You know, the media just doesn't talk about it, so people think it really doesn't exist anymore. But it really does. People are still dying. People are still in the hospital and still needing to be put on a respirator and everything that was going on when it was popular. So you can't forget about COVID, and we cannot forget that we need to be vaccinated at least a little bit. You know, a couple of shots here and there, maybe.
Yeah.
But you can't be walking around raw.
No, but you know, it cracks me up, the irony. Had Ebola taken off over here the way COVID did,
Mm-hmm.
and they had said,
Can I change the seat or open the window? My mom.
um, if they said wearing a mask would keep you from getting Ebola, would people have been so anti mask wearing? Because
Right.
let's talk about real quick. COVID affected your lungs, and if you were in a certain state of health, if you were overweight, had already had respiratory issues, already had pulmonary issues, COVID could take you out quick.
Mm-hmm.
Ebola, regardless of what your normal walking around health status is, Ebola was going to take you out. I think it was one person who had it that survived it, and they ain't never going to be the same, right? Because Ebola literally melts your internal organs, turns your insides into jelly. So because Donald Trump was president when COVID hit and downplayed it, people didn't take it as seriously as they would have needed to had Ebola broken out over here the way COVID did.
Mm-hmm. True. Yeah, Trump and his cronies, I don't know why people would listen to him, even after Fauci would get on television, national television, every few days and say, hey, this is serious. And then Trump would be right behind him at the podium. Oh, well, we'll be okay.
Yeah, it's not as bad, right?
And when he finally did admit that it is a major issue, or well, it still is, but was a major issue at that time, for the people who actually drank bleach because he said that would kill them.
Yes, drank bleach, and what was the people who took what was the chemical that goes in aquariums that the people took, crushed up and drank to
like the chloride?
Yeah, to kill it and end up killing them. So
yeah.
And then those people, like you said, Fauci would come on television every day and give you an update. Those people blame Fauci because Fauci said initially that it was containable and it didn't appear to have been as widespread. But we didn't know how widespread it was because people weren't, hospitals and communities weren't reporting the numbers the way they were supposed to. They weren't recognizing the symptoms and reporting the symptoms that people had and correlating those with being COVID.
Right.
But no, it's Fauci's fault because Donald Trump can do no wrong. Last time I saw, Fauci never told anybody to drink bleach. He never told anybody to buy these chemicals on the black market. He didn't tell people. I think he said masks weren't necessary early on because they didn't know how bad it was. But once they found out, and it is science is fallible, but it's also a constant study. You don't have all the answers right away.
No, you don't. And with something like a disease like COVID, we know that it transitions. It gets stronger or weaker or whatever. So from week to week or whatever, it's not going to be the same report because the statistics will be different.
Yeah. And once people understood what to look for, hospitals understood what to look for, and they were overwhelmed by the swarm, the literal swarm of people dying from the disease.
Right.
Then it became a thing.
There are a few ways that Junior, we'll call him, could have gotten that worm in his brain.
Yeah.
One is for men urinating in
a stream,
say like a swampy type area or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And those parasites go up through your urine, go into your penis, and go into your body. Another way is swimming, or at least having his head underwater in water it shouldn't be contaminated.
Yeah, and it doesn't even have to be contaminated water. In certain countries, there are bugs, worms, parasites that live in the water that would never live in water over here because of all the standards we have over here for treating water. I mean, so Flint, Michigan would argue with me, but
Yeah.
For the most part, streams and all are and rivers and all aren't as bad as they are in emerging countries.
Mm-hmm. Well, I just think I'm going to blame it on tequila anyway. Because, he seems like the type of guy that's probably had a few tequila shots.
Maybe one or two.
Yeah. And I'm sure he ate the worm.
Oh, I'm sure he did. You mentioned the swimming in the water with these parasites. It reminded me. So this is for the men listening. I forgot what river and what country. But
in what country?
I can't remember the country. I can't remember the name of the river. But there's a parasite that if you are even standing in the water and urinating and your penis touches the water, there's a parasite that will climb into your penis, and it has spines that come out so that it cannot be pulled backwards out of your urethra.
Yeah. And like the clamps come out.
Yeah. And it sits in your urethra.
Well, actually, you don't have to, the penis doesn't have to touch the water because the parasites go up through the urine that's coming out of the penis.
Right.
They're going the wrong way on a one-way highway.
Yeah, they're like salmon swimming upstream.
Right. So,
but once it gets in there, it expands out and lives off of your body waste as you're trying to urinate, and it cannot be pulled. It'll grow and you can't pull it out.
Nope. So you're gonna have to cut that thing off.
Well, no. There is surgery that can be happened. You don't have to go. You're not throwing the baby out with the bathwater, Shelly.
I said get the hatchet out and let it go.
And see, this is why we can't have nice things. So you cannot just cut things off, Shelly. You just can't just be in there hacking.
It would solve the problem, wouldn't it?
No, it would not. It would not. Me and my parasite would just become buddies. It would stay there.
That's crazy.
But it will grow into the point. It grows to the point that it will block your urine stream, and you will have to have surgery to get it removed because the spikes come out in a way that it can't be pulled forward. Pulled backwards can only go forward, and it anchors itself in there.
That sounds like fun.
And people ask me why I don't want to travel to certain countries. I'm not trying to. First of all, I'm not a camping. I'm not an outdoor guy. If I'm outside, it's somewhere, and I need to go to the bathroom, I'm not going to look for a stream because I might need to drink that water. I'm going to find a tree, right?
Yeah.
But there are people out there that we'll just play here in the water.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of nasty. Anyway,
let's just swim in this water that we know nothing about. Let's just swim here. yeah. No.
Yeah. Well, both of you are well aware of how I love to travel.
Yes.
I will say this. I have never had the inclination to travel to Asia. Never. And now I mistakenly went to Asia
Mistakenly.
because I didn't know that now the United Arab Emirates is considered an Asian country. You know, that's where Dubai is located.
Listen,
But
Shelly, San Diego.
Lord Dora the Explorer.
Right. You don't accidentally go to a country. You don't it's not like you were trying to go down Route 40 to Catonsville and overshot and went to Ellicott City, had to turn around and come back. You accidentally went to Asia?
accidentally, I didn't know that it was a part of Asia until I was there. You know, you have to fill out customs forms and that kind of. I was like, we're in Asia. I was talking to my sister who was with me. And she was like, really? So we were thinking it was the so-called Middle East, which is actually, as we know, Africa.
Mm-hmm.
So now they have transformed it into Asia. A lot of those so-called Middle Eastern countries consider themselves a part of Asia.
Well, I've never been to Dubai, but I would venture to say that you didn't find any streams to be you going to the bathroom in.
Yeah, well, no, Dubai is very clean.
Yeah.
It's a very nice country. I don't need to go back because I'm not like the flashy kind of go out to this hotspot nightclub kind of person when I'm traveling. When I travel, I like to do cultural things.
Like go to football games,
learn
go to
about
baseball games, go to stadiums, cultural stuff like that. Go to football and baseball stadiums.
But when I go to the stadiums, I also go to museums and I go to various events.
I'm just clarifying. I'm just clarifying.
But Dubai
cultural places like Pittsburgh.
Well, I had to go there to get my global entry interview done.
Okay.
Any excuse would do, Shelly.
And it just so happened to be that when I had my appointment, it was the same day of the Pirates game where I could take my dog. So I was excited about that, and so it worked out well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And she didn't grinch on any of the dogs.
Okay.
And we were the only black family there.
Shelly, I know you travel more than most people I know. I know travel agents that don't travel as much as you do. But what's amazing to me is you could be sitting in this studio on Monday, and on Tuesday, your social media says, I'm on my way to Hawaii. And I'm like, what? Yeah. And then on Thursday, you're back home and saying, well, packing for my trip to North Carolina. I'm like, wait,
hold up, Gail. Nah, she don't do no domestics like North Carolina. The only domestic she gonna do is New Orleans.
Well,
domestic she gonna do. She does stuff like Egypt, Rome, Pakistan. I mean, she go to places don't nobody say we're gonna go there for vacation.
But she went to Pittsburgh. Boy, that goes to your point. Pittsburgh. Yeah. No one goes to Pittsburgh for vacation.
And I can see why no one wants to go to Pittsburgh.
I've never been, and I never want to go. I'll go to Cleveland again before I go to Pittsburgh.
Shelly told us she's going away for. Listen, Gail. She said, I'm going on vacation. She says, I'm going to Alaska. I'm like, okay, she's going to Alaska. Shelly was gone a month. She was gone like 42 days. Who do that?
It was only about 3 weeks. Well, I'll tell you where I got that from. My grandmother, my paternal grandmother, whom we called Grams, who's from Louisiana. She was born and raised in Louisiana. Caught the bus from Baltimore to Alaska. It was a bus trip.
Say what now?
She took a bus trip from Baltimore to Alaska. And she told us about it like, well, at least me, I was like, well, Gramps, how you doing? You know, I would visit her on a regular basis. Well, I'm leaving for Alaska in 2 days. I said, oh, okay. Where are you going with? And so she said, I'm going with some of my friends from the senior center. I said, oh, so when's your flight leave? You want me to take you to the airport? Oh, no, we're going on a bus trip.
Wow.
I said, to Alaska?
See, that sounds like a scam from Jump. You're gonna take a bus to Alaska.
So,
Uh-huh.
my grandmother was gone for like 3 months.
It took her 2.5 months to get there. She flew home.
She spent 20 minutes in Alaska, and the other time was traveling to and back. Okay, we're in Alaska. Turn around, get off the bus, get back on.
Yeah, really. Like,
That trip was so long, they had 3 bus drivers on the bus.
wow.
What year was? When was this, Shelley?
Places along the way and coming back.
When was this, Shelley? What year was this?
Oh, that was it was in the 80s.
Oh God, they didn't even have good buses then. They ain't had no Wi-Fi, no charging.
I'm
They
telling
had
you.
cell phones.
The
Nothing
videos
was
was
I'm telling
VHS.
you.
They had y'all watching VHS tapes.
So
No, my grandmother was on that bus knitting and crocheting.
So, Shelley, let me tell you about my grandparents. The Beverleys, my father's parents, they went places, right? And they always took me. I was a little guy. I always got to go. They go to Atlantic City, I was going. Go to New York, I was going. So I go over to visit them one weekend, and they were getting ready for their trip to Hawaii. And I was like, we're going to Hawaii? Because anytime we went anywhere, they went anywhere, I was going with them. And I was like, yeah, tell me about Hawaii. And they were like, oh yeah, we're gonna fly, we're gonna do this, and we're gonna, and I was like, oh wow, this is gonna be great. And they went to Hawaii without me. Let me tell you how hurt my little ass was when they said, no, there's no need for you to come over next weekend because we'll be in Hawaii. And I was like, well, wait, you mean I'll be with you, right? And they were like, no, like we
Like, you do not need your swim trunks.
exactly, like, you're not going to Hawaii. We are going to Hawaii. And then they did the same thing with Las Vegas. I just knew I was going to Las Vegas. They were talking about, oh, we're going to go take in the show. We're going to go see the Rat Pack. We're going to go see, all this. And I was like, yes, we're going to Las Vegas. And they went to Las Vegas. Yeah, I wasn't right with those people for 4 or 5 weeks. Like you can't be mad. You couldn't be mad at my grandparents because they were such wonderful people. But they sure enough went to Hawaii and Las Vegas without Yale, and I couldn't understand it.
Well, my grandmother made sure that I went to Hawaii. So my father died when I was 9 years old, and that was her oldest son. So, and he had another brother, my Uncle Jules, became, a surrogate father. So Uncle Jules had children, but my siblings were a lot older than me. My sister's 7 years older, and my brother's 11 years older. So my Uncle Jules made sure that I always traveled with them, and my grandmother would come along most of the time also. So it would basically be the 5 of us, his 2 children, myself, my grandmother, and of course my Uncle Jules, who had to always do all the driving because nobody else was driving. My grandmother never had a driver's license, by the way.
Neither did mine. My grandmother never had to drive. My grandfather took her wherever. If they had to go somewhere, he was behind the wheel. And James Beverly Sr. had the lead foot-itis that he passed on to his children and grandchildren.
Oh wow. Yeah, so my grandmother, well, when we went to Hawaii, it was during the winter break. I was in 7th grade. So, it was during the Christmas break or whatever. So I was telling the kids, I went to All Saints Middle School. I was telling, my friends at school, I'm going to Hawaii. They were like, no, you're not, you're lying. You know how kids are. I was like, okay. see y'all when I get back. So I went to Hawaii, had a blast. That was the best trip ever. Like I still vividly remember the things that I did.
And how old were you?
12.
See, let me tell you something. I haven't been to Hawaii yet.
You missing out.
I'm afraid that if I go, I might never come back. But I'm going to Hawaii.
Oh, you're coming back because you're gonna run out of money. It's expensive as hell.
Day 2, you're gonna run out of money. day 2.
You will run out of money.
Now,
Yeah.
if
You've been to Hawaii, Rob?
Yes, my son was stationed there.
Oh, okay.
Yale.
Oh.
You want the good and the bad of Hawaii.
let me tell you something. I intend on saving money because I'm gonna find that same bus trip that Shelly's grandmother was on. I'm gonna catch the bus to Hawaii.
Across the water.
I used to take the
And
bus.
I'll tell you, my grandmother was real thrifty with her her purse.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that trip didn't cost her more than $500.
On a bus, but not.
Should have cost her $275.
Especially back then. And, seniors got a deep discount.
And
So-
gas didn't cost what gas costs now.
Right.
Mhm.
Gallon of gas was
Exactly.
what, 38 cents?
In the 80s, it was a little bit more than that, but not much.
Hey, yeah, I'm gonna
Yeah.
tell you about Hawaii, man. Listen, I had a wonderful experience in Hawaii. Once we flew, by the way, we didn't take the bus, but when we got off the plane, right?
Mm-hmm.
When we got on the base, it was 2 motorcycles parked in the parking lot, right?
Okay.
You know I'm an avid motorcyclist.
Yeah.
My son had made arrangements for me to have a motorcycle to ride the entire island all week long, right?
Which island?
That is
We was in
awesome.
Honolulu.
Okay.
So my trip is starting great, right?
Right.
The first day that we went out, we're all on the bikes, and we go to McDonald's. Here's the funny part. We go to McDonald's, and the other half that was with me ordered, I think she ordered like a chicken sandwich or something, right?
Right.
The girl said like $7. She said, "Ma'am, I just want the sandwich." I don't want the meal. She said, "Ma'am, all I gave you was the sandwich. You didn't get the meal." I said, "This is gonna be a long week, man."
Oh, yeah.
I said, "It's gonna be a long week," but we had a really, really good time. We ate out every night. Every night, my son took us to a different restaurant. We had like Mexican one night. We had soul food one night. We really had
Soul food in Hawaii.
yes.
Yes.
The food was so good. We went back twice, Shell.
Soul food in Hawaii.
Yes. I promise you, it was worth it. We went back twice.
I'm gonna say this again. Soul food in Hawaii.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
But I'm gonna tell you the highlight, man. We were on the bikes, right?
Mm-hmm.
We went down this highway because we was going to this one of the beaches. It's like a real popular beach. Everybody.
Waikiki?
Nah, it wasn't Waikiki, but it was one of the beaches in Honolulu that everybody go to, right?
Okay.
It's a tunnel right before you get, because you got to go through the mountain and get the beaches on the other side of the mountain. There's a tunnel. Keep in mind, we're on a motorcycle, right?
Mm.
When you get in the tunnel, the whole inside of the tunnel is painted blue. So it looks like you're underwater.
Oh wow.
And I'm like, man, this is hot. Yeah, when you come out the tunnel, it's a wall on each side of you because you're coming out of a mountain, right?
Mm-hmm.
Both sides of the walls were covered with all these different colorful flowers. And when you look over, like to your left, you're at like the top of the mountain, but you're looking down at where the beach is with the white sand. Oh my God. Listen, that was the best postcard you could have ever thought of, man. I loved it. My son hated it. And what he said to me was, "You love Hawaii because you're here as a tourist. I gotta live here." He was like, "I'm ready to come home."
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
He couldn't wait to get out of Hawaii.
Well, I loved everything about Hawaii except the bad part for me was, well, the first day we got there, it was raining. And then it rained again the second day. So we did things.
Okay.
And fortunately, the hotel had an indoor pool. And the third day, sunny, hot, regular sunny, smoky, hot kind of summer day.
Mm-hmm.
So my cousin Keith and I, who was 2 years older than me. We were like, yeah, we're going to the beach. We're going to hang out all day, blah, blah, blah. Put on the brakes. Because Graham said, no, we're going to Pearl Harbor.
Guys,
I would have loved
We were
that.
like, what?
I would have loved that.
I really appreciate it that I had the opportunity to go to Pearl Harbor.
Yes.
Because I love national parks now. That's another thing that I do when I travel. Yeah, like I stopped at the Flight 93 Memorial
In
on my way
Pennsylvania.
back from Pittsburgh.
Okay.
So that was very touching, by the way. And it's only, what, an hour and a half away from Baltimore. So that was really nice. But I really appreciate the fact that my grandmother made us go to Pearl Harbor. And it took the entire day because it's on the other side of the island from where we were staying. Because we stayed in Waikiki Beach. And it was, you got to catch the boat out to the memorial, and it took all day. But
wow.
But it's
was
interesting. Yeah, I enjoyed Pearl Harbor.
So one of my closest friends, right after I graduated from high school, she ended up moving to Hawaii. She went. Her father and her father's family lived in Hawaii. Was from Hawaii, so she went on vacation one year to Hawaii in either 85 or 86, and I was really amazed that she went on vacation since she was unemployed at the time. I'm like, how do you go on vacation when you got no money? But she went and stayed at her aunt's house. And if I remember the story correctly, her aunt lived down the street from where they would film Magnum PI back in the day. So she got to be friends with the crew and some of the cast members of Magnum PI. And then she comes back and tells me, yeah, I'm moving to Hawaii. And I was like, what? Like, huh? And she's been out there ever since. I know when she moved out there, I started looking into like, maybe I should go out to Hawaii because my grandparents didn't take me when I was 8. So maybe I should go and see what's going on in Hawaii. And back then, this was 85 or 86. A job that I looked into was going to, at that time was going to pay me $100,000 a year if I got the job. And I was very excited to get this job, make $100,000 a year. And then she told me that's not really any money in Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, this is when I was making $20,000 a year. Like, you want to tell me that 100? I'll live like a king. Like, no, you won't.
Right.
No, you won't.
Well, I also fell in love in Hawaii. There's a boy named Ricky.
Here we go.
He was there with his family from LA, and they would go to Hawaii often.
Mm-hmm.
And Ricky taught me how to surf.
Oh, did he?
Well, I almost drowned, but that's not the point.
Aren't you the person who was just saying that you teach people how to swim?
I can teach you how to swim, but that doesn't have anything to do with those Hawaiian waves. It doesn't matter if you're Michael Phelps. If the wave wants to get you, it will get you.
Okay.
Yeah, seriously. No, I am a very good swimmer. I started swimming when I was like 4 years old. Actually in Columbia at the the swim center close to
Wild Lake Swim Center.
No, the one close to the house, close to Golden Hook.
That would be the Wild Lake Swim Center.
That's Wild Lake?
The indoor swimming pool?
No, outdoor. No, when you go down Owen Brown and you make a right, if you make a left out of the Hawthorne development,
mm-hmm.
and then you make a right on whatever the street is.
Oh, the new spot. The new spot going down the hill.
No, it's old because that was in the 70s and 80s I was going there.
I'm so confused right now.
Okay, I'll have to find out the name of it.
Yes.
Ask my aunt.
Yes.
Well, at Cara, they probably know.
Kay Dunn knows because I knew the Wild Lake Swim Center. When you come out of Golden Hook, make a right on the Sunny Spring and take that all the way to Wild Lake. The indoor swim center was where we would go because they had the slide and the high dive.
No, I've never been there. No, you make a left from Golden Hook, and then a left onto Owen Brown.
And then you must go down quite a bit.
Yeah. I guess this is why Rat called me Howard County.
Look, I tell people, I changed religions while I was in Colombia. When we moved to Colombia, I was a pedestrian, and then I changed my religion to 7-day motorist when I turned 17. But before then, I was, I dabbled in cyclery, and I was a cyclist for a long time until I got until I converted to motorist, and I rode all over Colombia. There's a story. So, people who are not local here don't understand this, but Colombia, there used to be 4 traffic lights on Route 29, and one of them was at the bottom of South Entrance Road by the mall on the 29. And you would go down South Entrance Road, and there'd be a traffic light. You could turn right to keep going south, or turn left to go north towards Baltimore, or go straight across, and you'd end up on the east side of Columbia over in the Owen Brown area, Oakland Mills area. And I had a bike, and I thought I was going to be I was going to be a cyclist forever. So I had my bike tricked out, and I got the clamps and the straps put on the pedals because I wanted to be the biker, right? I was going to ride my bike, pedal all over Colombia. That was going to be my thing. And
you started using the time pedal?
Yeah, right. And then
I used to mountain bike.
Okay. So I wanted to do that and build up my leg muscles, and I was, so I got my bike, I got the pedals put on, the clamps and stuff put on, and I'm riding, and I go down South Entrance Road, and if you caught the light, you just go straight across 29, and you'd be on the other side of Columbia. You'd be on the bike path. And I got down the bottom of the hill, and the light was red. And I get down there, I'm at the light is red, and my feet are strapped into these pedals, and I can't take my feet out. And I start, and now, back in the day, I rode so much, I could ride with my hands on the handlebars, like a lot of people can. I could stop a bike and just sit still on the bike without moving, turn the handlebars a certain way you can stay in the bike and stand up, all that. And I panicked because I couldn't get my feet out. And because I panicked, I started to lose my balance, which made the situation even worse because I start trying to fidget on the bike and try to get the bike right. And then I fell over. I fell over on my side, and I couldn't get my feet out of the thing. And then the light turns green. And behind me are all these cars, and I'm laying in the middle of the street like a damn turtle on his back.
Oh, God.
And people beeping their horns. And I wasn't hurt as much as I was embarrassed. And people couldn't ride around me because I'm laying out there in the middle of the damn intersection like a damn turtle. There's nothing.
Oh, man.
Them damn time pedals or something else.
Man, when I was able to get my foot out, I rode the rest of the way. I went back home, and I had the clamps upside down. And I got home, I took those pedals off, those damn clamps off my bike, and I never put them on again.
Wow, that
felt like a fool.
I used to love riding my bike also. I used to ride my bike to the harbor. Now, I grew up on Bell Avenue in Northwest Baltimore, just below Northern Parkway. So we were almost in Baltimore County, and we would ride our bikes everywhere. But one day, I had a dog named Muffin when I was a kid, and back then we didn't get dogs fixed. They didn't go to the vet. Go eat some grass, you'll feel better.
That's right.
That was that kind of deal. So Muffin had already had a litter of puppies like a year before this encounter occurred. So Muffin was in heat again. Said, okay, well, Mom told me I'm responsible for Muffin not getting pregnant.
Hey, you're responsible?
Like 10 years old, right? So I'm like, okay, come on, Muffin. because usually we would just let her outside and she just come back whenever she wanted to. So, okay,
Right.
I'm going to put the leash on you, which I had to search for, of course. And I'm going to ride my bike to take you for a walk. Bad idea. Really bad idea. So I literally got 2 houses away from my house on Bell Avenue. And here come a pack of dogs. And there were at least 7 of them. So my dog wraps the leash around my bike while I'm still trying to ride it. So of course I went down. And she starts trying to run off, so she's kind of dragging me a little bit down the street. And here come the dogs. And so it was traumatizing for me because they raped my dog right in front of me.
Wow. Wow.
I kid you not. And I'm wondering, where are all the people on the block? Because usually it's the middle of the summer. There's like mass kids and people outside playing or whatever else. At least going through their car. Nobody was around. Not a soul. I had to scrape myself up. I wiped myself off after they were finished. Ran a train on my dog. and my bike was ruined. And drag everything back to the house. At least it wasn't too far away. And yeah, a couple of months later, she had some puppies. Yeah, that was a traumatizing experience for me at 10 years old.
You were 10, Shelly. I was like 17.
Well, that's very scary being in the middle of that traffic. My goodness.
Again, the fear was I couldn't get off the bike, couldn't get my legs down. I had no fear of being run over because I was in Colombia. They didn't do things to people in Colombia like they do.
Right.
If that had been in the city, I'd have been like on the news. The man run over eight times by cars at the intersection because he fell off his bike.
But, and the traffic in Colombia wasn't half as bad as it is now.
No, yeah, wasn't it? Yeah, back then it was. So this was like 1977, 79, somewhere in there. So yeah, traffic was nowhere near as bad.
Yeah.
Well, look, I appreciate you calling in. I appreciate you telling the story of how your dog felt like Scooter when he was talking to the audible cougars.
Really? Hey, we're not cougars because we're the ones seeking. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, what you should never do is take that defense to court in New York. Because they're gonna pull out checks and receipts.
Donald Trump. We won't be able to get away with it.
Right. And they will have receipts with signatures on checks for you. But look, my time is over tonight. I got some guests lined up are going to be coming up the next couple of weeks. I'm pretty excited about. Memorial Day is coming. I Be Smoking Ribs will be having a Rib Fest Memorial Day. Give me a call, 443-471-6199, and get your orders in for ribs for Memorial Day. I understand you don't eat pork, Shelly, but you know what I'm going to do with that brisket and turkey a little later on in the year. But $25 a slab of ribs, $15 for half slab of ribs. I know people who do eat pork, and I'm fitting to slay a whole bunch of pigs the next couple of weekends.
All right, I will pass the word.
Happy Mother's Day coming up for those who have mothers in their lives and those who are mothers, and some of y'all mothers, fathers, if you know what I'm saying. Mary Franklin's happy, Mother's Day to you all too. But Nitelifer Circle of Sanity has, again, just tried to educate and expand your knowledge of some things, everyone, and learn a little bit and just get you to think, not outside the box, but within the lines. Look at real situations and not what people are telling you to think. read for yourself, do your own investigation. I'm not going to say do your own research, because research is really not just reading an article on Google or Fox News. Research implies that you're actually going to look at various points of information and compare and do analysis. And a lot of people don't have time for that. But just don't allow yourself to be led by your nose and walk through life with your eyes wide shut. There's real information out there, and there's real things you need to know. And all you have to do is be willing to find the answers that aren't being supplied to you. So, with that being said, DJ Rock Nice.
You ready?
I'm ready. I'm going to say again, good night to Shelly. Thank you, Shelly. Thanks to all my listeners listening in.
Yeah, I love the topics.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And everyone, have a good 7 days. Keep your heads down. Be safe. Be blessed. And happy Mother's Day till we talk again.
The Nitelifer, the Night Circle of Sanity, radio show, radio show.
What you got? What you got? What you got? This is State of Emergency.
The Nitelifer, the Night Circle of Sanity, radio show, radio show. The Nitelifer, the Night Circle of Sanity, radio show.
What you got, little mama? Show me what you got, baby. Show me what you got, show me what you got, baby. Hands up and wave, 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 wave.
The Nitelifer, the Night Circle of Sanity.
You want answers? You want answers? You want answers? You want answers? I want the truth! I want the truth! I want the truth! You can't handle the truth! Handle the truth! Handle the truth!
The Nitelifer, the Night Circle of Sanity, radio show, radio show, radio show.